Matt, the UFC loves to bury really good flyweight fights on some of these fight night cards. We've seen it with Jussier Formiga, Alex Perez, where Perez comes away with a huge win. Now we have Roxanne Modafferi taking on Lauren Murphy. And Matt, the Happy Warrior versus Lucky Lauren Murphy. It's a really interesting clash of styles because you have Roxanne Modafferi who can get it done in a lot of different ways. She's got weird elbows. She's good in the clinch. She's good with her grappling. She's got that herky-jerky Ben Rothwell style movement. And she's taking on Lauren Murphy that can take a ton of punishment and just keep coming forward. That's kind of her, her calling card, if you will. And it's been very evident in her last two fights against Mara Romero Barella and a big win where she was a sizable underdog against Andrea Lee. Now, she's coming in here against Roxanne Modafferi, a true pioneer of the sport, and you can't count either of these out of that conversation, either of these women, I should say. Modafferi 37, Lauren Murphy 36, but they're still up there in the top of the division. Now, maybe that speaks to the fact that it is one of the weaker divisions in the UFC, but it's still a very interesting fight in terms of, just from a divisional standpoint. The fact that Roxanne Modafferi, her only real kryptonite has been Jennifer Maia. And apart from that, yeah, she lost to Nico Montano in a fight that was originally supposed to be Sijara Eubanks' fight for the inaugural belt. She also has a loss in the UFC to none other than Sijara Eubanks. But her wins, Barb Honchak, Antonina Shevchenko, and then in her last one, surprised everybody, getting the win over Macy Barber. What do you make of this fight? And do you think that either one of these women with a win gets a title shot?
I certainly hope not, because the problem that women's flyweight has is the same thing that women's bantamweight has. No matter who you beat or how you beat them, you have to face a basically unbeatable challenger or an unbeatable champion at this point. So I think that they really need to bring these contenders up really slowly, get them as many fights as possible before they go for that title shot. And with Roxanne, it's really interesting because her Achilles heel is either extremely technical strikers or really dominant wrestlers who are able to kind of hold her down and pin her there. Other than that, if you're just kind of well-rounded, she's kind of a little bit more well-rounded, if you will. And Lauren Murphy, she's got one of those skill sets that she's just kind of okay at everything. She doesn't really have that one area that she really excels in. And that's kind of tailor-made for how Roxanne Modafferi beats different women.
Exactly. I mean, like Lauren Murphy, the perfect examples, the last two fights. Mara Romero Barella, yeah, okay, she got submitted by Courtney Casey, who's not a huge submission specialist, but her bread and butter so far has been her ground game. Lauren Murphy looked great in that fight. Then she takes on Andrea Lee. And yeah, it was a really close fight. And a lot of people did see it the way of Lee. But Lee primarily a striker. Lauren Murphy able to snuff that one out. But yeah, you're taking on somebody who's so well-rounded in Roxanne Modafferi. I'm a little bit surprised. I mean, the odds are minus 125 in favor of the Happy Warrior and around a plus 100 for Murphy. If you look over on Tapology, out of 791 votes, 79% going with Modafferi, 83% predicting the decision win for Modafferi. I certainly see it that way. I mean, it's hard not to, be on the opposite side. Yes, Lauren Murphy, if she's going to get the win, she has to kind of snuff out every single aspect of somebody's game. But you always have to worry about Roxanne Modafferi because she's one of those fighters, and we talk about it a lot with Fight Night Picks, that there's certain fighters who their cruising altitude is like 5,000 feet. And you never want to have your plane at 5,000 feet unless it's, a very, very tiny plane. So let's say commercial planes. But Roxanne Modafferi is constantly up there at 35,000 feet, just cruising the entire fight. You hardly ever see her get tired. She just continues to go and never seems to stop. And that's how she's able to beat a lot of her opponents. I see her going that way in this fight. Great plane analogy.
That was the most Tito Ortiz way you could have broken down that fight. I just think Roxanne has a lot more ways to win. It's really simple. She's a really good ground game offensively and defensively. She's a very wonky striker, like you would mention, and she has really good clinch work too. And I do think that they are going to clinch up against the cage for a large portion of this fight. And when they do, Roxanne just has way better tie elbows and knees, and really good takedowns from there too. So I just think Roxanne's going to be able to run away with the decision.
Really looking forward to it, Matt. We got a great card coming up. UFC Vegas from none other than the Apex facility in Vegas. Extended look at our main event between Curtis Blaydes and Alexander Volkov. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks and Matt. As we always say, let's get into it.